Hey guys, I am Samura Jones, your emotional restoration coach, and welcome to the Shattered Whole podcast, where we talk, feel, and heal by acknowledging our hurts, claiming our healing, and living as a new creation. And you may be a first time listener or just coming aboard and say, that sounds like a mouthful. But I promise that we will go through it together as we learn new processes that really keep us emotionally healthy, emotionally intelligent, and just a little bit more compassionate and kind towards our own selves and others. So I want to share this quote with you guys today from Carl Bard that says, although no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending. And I hope as you hear that, it really interjects into, or I want to say, breaks up that thought pattern that tells you that it is what it is and that it can't be anything more than what it looks like right now. I'm hoping that it interjects or interrupts, that's a better way to say it, that it interrupts that thought pattern as you recognize and acknowledge that I can take on a new behavior. And I can also have a different mindset and perspective that gives me a different way of interpreting. And when I say interpreting, I mean hearing. You even hear differently when you take on this new mental and emotional perspective. So let's go through some of those steps, if you will. Right? Let's go through some of those steps. First and foremost, and I'm just going to clear my throat for 1 second because I want to make sure that we're all that we're hearing well. So what do I mean when I say that we're living as a new creation? And I want to read this out to you. It says, one who is renewed in knowledge. This is manifested through external and internal compassion, kindness, serving in humility, gentleness, patience, and quick to forgive. Before we go any further, just know I'm not that deep. That's straight from the Bible. That is straight from the word of God, as they say, from the word of God. And I'm grateful for it because if you're telling me that, or I'm hearing that I can have new life, I want to know what you mean by that, and I want to know what the fruits of that look like. So the fruits of that look like these characteristics, these perspectives, and these behaviors that happen from me first. Right? So I want to practice what I seek. In the first two episodes, and if you haven't had the opportunity, let's say you skipped forward and was like, I'm going straight to 3. Go back. Go back and listen to the first two because it helps you transition to this part. And you're practicing what you seek because one, you have acknowledged the hurt that you've endured, and then you've claimed the healing that you want, and then that's in that step pace is where you're deciding what you're seeking, and then here is where you're practicing what you have now decided is your now future. You have gone through that process and now you're like, how do I implement it? I'm practicing what I seek by no longer behaving in the same manners that put me in places that jeopardize my emotional and mental health. What does that mean? What does that look like? So I used to, when I was younger, much, much younger, even though I'm still young now, I'm not that old. But I was like, when I was younger, um, when I would get really, really like upset, or if I needed to, to while out, like I would drink. I would I would drink, and it wasn't that I was like, oh, let me get a drink to just, chill or hang out with the friends or whatever. I was like, nah, I'm about to get trashed. I'm about to get trashed. I'm about to drink because I wanted to numb everything that I was feeling. And here's the thing, I was okay with whatever happened afterward because I could blame it on the alcohol, and that's not right. and that's not it, right? Um, because because it didn't produce in the long run anything that was beneficial for me. It just didn't give me the joy, the happiness, or even really the relief that I was looking for. Because here's real relief: real relief doesn't disappear after the alcohol has left your system. Real relief happens when you have healed through something, when you have, and I'm not just saying let go and let God, because that is applicable in some situations, because that's more of a control issue thing. We'll get to that in another episode. I was like, but when you are really relieved of something, it is out of you. It's not, when you're relieved of something, think about, not to get gross, but when you go relieve yourself, you feel relieved because it's no longer in you. You let out what needed to get out, right? That poison, that toxin, that thing that was no longer needed and necessary for your body, you let it out. This is the same. This is the same thing. You feel relieved when you let out what no longer is necessary for your mind, for your heart, and for your body. Then you want to go into that space where you have clarification and enforcement of your standards for yourself internally and your boundaries externally. What does that mean? I have come to a place in my life where there is certain things that I won't even say to myself about myself and let live. I won't even give it permission for me to, let's keep the same example, where I'm going to get trashed to the point where I can't think straight, where I can't take accountability for my actions, because that kind of practice doesn't relieve me, it actually harms me. So that's not me living in my newness. That's me living in old behaviors, hoping that it produces a new result. And that's not what that is. And what I don't do is allow other people to dictate how I then now live this new life. Because you probably have friends, companions, who will encourage you to do what you've always done because that's the version of you that they're most comfortable with. I'm going to say that again. You may have people, friends, coworkers who are used to a previous version of you that no longer benefits you, but they're comfortable with. And they don't know this new person, and this new person makes them feel uncomfortable. I gotta be okay with that. I gotta be okay with, as I'm living as a new creation, shedding behaviors and people, and maybe even certain atmospheres, so that the practices that I am taking on now are for the future that I seek and for the life that I desire. Like I can't stay in brokenness and then expect whole results. That doesn't make sense to for my life. It doesn't make sense for my life. And I have to be clear on what that is. So, and you'll kind of learn it. You'll find out. Here's how I found out. I'm over here stuttering, but here's how I found out. I went out with a few friends, and just because I was like, oh, let me just go, I haven't seen them in a long time. Like, they like, listen, let's go turn up. And here's how I knew it wasn't for me. When they were like, let's turn up, the way that they wanted to turn up, I was like, I don't know if I wanna. I don't really do that like I used to. But I wanted to be with them so much that I was willing to compromise what I knew I no longer was comfortable in. I knew I wasn't comfortable doing what they were asking me to do, but because I wanted to be with them and I wanted them to not think that I didn't want to, all these external thoughts, I didn't want them to think, I didn't want them to see, I didn't want them to feel. And everyone else's feelings, emotions, and everything went before me. And I was just like, I'm going to just get ahead and go. And I got there, and they were living the life version that they enjoyed. And I want to be clear, I'm not judging what it is that they were doing because they were comfortable and happy and wanted to do that. I just wasn't there anymore. That wasn't my version of a good time anymore. That lifestyle no longer fit where I was. So since it didn't fit where I am, I shouldn't be compromising myself. And that's when I got clarity. I could love you where you are, how you are, without placing judgment on you or having an expectation that you need to conform to me, just like I don't want you to have an expectation that I need to conform to you. If we are developing and evolving in relationship, then I want to be able to evolve and you still can accept me. But I'm clear that even if you don't, even if you can't, that I am responsible for my actions. I am responsible for the new life that I'm asking for. And I need to create the right atmosphere and environment to manifest what it is that I said that it looks like, right? Because I said it looks like compassion, it looks like kindness, it looks like serving and humility, it looks like gentleness, it looks like patience. I don't know if it looks like, me dropping it like it's hot on the dance floor, if that's not what I'm desiring, to do. Now, be clear, if you out with your friends and you're having a good time or whatever, and that's where you are, I'm talking about your mindset. Where's your mind? Where's your heart at when you're doing that? Because then it's not fun. You're not just letting loose and having a good time. You are compromising what it is that you desire to do in that moment. And it just so happened to be that that's the activity where you're recognizing it. So once I recognized that I needed to be clear and honest with the people who were around me as I was growing, and then uncompromising to my new values and my new practices that I had for myself, and to be unapologetic about it. As well as this component here. And it's probably the hardest part. Time. It takes time to become a new creation. It just does. I have, I've done interviews and conversations with people, and they're just like, man, I watch how you forgave X, Y, and Z. I watch how you forgave your dad, and you forgave your mom, and you forgave, these people, because they know like the extent of some of the, traumatic experiences that I've gone through. And they were just like, man, like, how did you do it? Like, tell me. They want the 1, 2, 3 step to it. And I was like, well, here's some things that I did. I was like, but most importantly, it took time. And they're just like, yeah, but like, I want it, they want it now. And I'm just like, man, if I'm honest with you, a lot of the things that I've learned took a decade or so. Now I'm praying that as you are growing through this and that we're talking through this together, that it doesn't take you a decade or two to learn what I've learned. And that's the whole point of me giving you this. But it doesn't allow you to kind of skip what takes you time. There's some portions of this that you're going to get right away. It's going to be like a no-brainer to you. You're going to be like, yeah, I don't do that anymore. And be like, yeah, like that hurt my feelings, and I'm willing to have a hard conversation and talk to you about it. And I want to tell you what I saw, and I want to tell you what I experienced, and here was the impact, and I can communicate with you better and have a better relationship, with people. And this is the way that you now operate, the way that you talk now. But that took time. It took time to get there. It took grace for myself and others, because a part of understanding your own hurt will open your eyes to others. And so you won't even be as offended as you normally would be once you start identifying your own hurt. Once you start working through your own healing, you will have in your new life a new sensitivity to other people's pain. And it's a difference between being compassionate and understanding and enabling. We'll talk about that another time because we'll go deeper in it. Because sometimes I think too often forgiveness is confused with not holding people accountable. That's not the same. It's not the same thing. Giving yourself time to get to a place of new behaviors, new habits, forgiveness, compassion, levels of kindness comes all in a part of this process. And you absolutely have it to do. You absolutely have it to do. And let me tell you why you have it to do. Because you're willing to do the work to get it. You're willing to build the skill to get it. There's nothing wrong with learning how to do something on an emotional level. We're really just in our society at the place where mental health and taking care of your mental health is something that is acceptable. For a long time, talking about your feelings were frowned upon, and now we're at a space where it's everywhere. Like I want to know how you feel and how you feel it. And I hear a lot where it's talked about where our society is now too sensitive. I kind of understand why society is too sensitive, because it's the first time in our society where we've openly on an international level, because now we have the World Wide Web, right? And the fact that I said the World Wide Web and not the internet tells you how old I am. I was like, with the fact that we have that, you have everyone expressing emotions outwardly that they were never allowed to express outwardly before, and then finding an audience who understands them. Not an audience who heals them. It's a difference, but finding an audience that understands them, because I can connect with you about this pain. And we're just getting to the place where we're like, okay, now that you've expressed it, let's deal with it. I just got to the place where I could just express it. So we're really just an open sore out here, walking around and talking to people exposed. And I don't know if that's such a bad thing, as long as we're going to grow into the place where we're like, I don't have to stay open and sore, but I can stay transparent and healed. Or I can stay vulnerable and strong. And I can do that. Like I'm excited about us graduating to that next level, to that next space. because I want us as a community to get to the place where we're living as a new creation, because we've learned how to acknowledge our hurts and our feelings and find community in that, and then recognize that we don't have to stay hurt, because we can start claiming our healing, and we're willing to do the emotional sweat equity, and then we're going to live as a new creation that is serving each other in humility and in kindness and in compassion and in love, and having all this these new habits and behaviors. And that happens together. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation together. So continue to listen, to continue to be a part of this process. Let's walk through it together. You are not alone in any of this. You're not the only person who has experienced the hurt that you're feeling right now, as I just said. And guess what? I want you just to remember, if you don't remember anything else, that you can live as a new creation. There is hope. There is hope. You do not have to stay shattered. You absolutely can be whole. Just hold on to the fact that I see you, I'm listening, I love you. God bless.